AI Mentors is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our podcast, AI Mentors, brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI Mentors cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career.
You're listening to AI Mentors. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Leo Grady. Leo is the CEO of Paige.ai. Leo, welcome to the show.
Hey, JP. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Leo, love to start a little bit of background of yourself, what got you involved in technology, what's been a brief summary of your journey along the way leading up to your current role here at Paige.ai.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started life as an electrical engineer. I got really interested in signal processing. And then I went on and did a PhD in neural networks a long time ago. Started in 99, finished in 2003, long before the current AI world existed. And I spent my whole life trying to apply that technology to medical problems, to healthcare problems. And I worked for a long time at Siemens, building AI technology in a healthcare setting for radiology, meaning MRI, CT, ultrasound, PET imaging, and so on. And over the course of that time, I started to realize that even though the technology was maturing and it was really doing well in many of the problems that we were trying to tackle, that there's so many other elements that were making it difficult to get that technology adopted in a clinical setting. And so because I was always motivated by impact, I realized I needed to learn other things like user experience and workflows and integration and even things like reimbursement and patents and so on. And so I went through that journey, and then I left Siemens. I went out to the Bay Area to a company called HeartFlow, where I was leading product development and technology development for the first really software-based computational diagnostic in cardiovascular disease, really in medicine. And that was a SaaS-based system that would take in a cardiac CT image, use AI to build a personalized 3D model of the patient's heart, and then calculate blood flow through the patient's coronary arteries to help doctors decide whether or not a patient needs a stent. And I spent 7 years there. We went through clinical trials. We brought that to the market, got FDA, Medicare reimbursement, launched that in North America and Europe and Japan. And after that time, I left last year to join Paige as their first CEO.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that overview. It certainly helps understand the path that you've taken leading up to Paige. So I think that's a nice segue into telling us a little bit more about Paige, who they are, what they do, and what your role as CEO involves.
So Paige was born out of Memorial Sloan Kettering, arguably one of the best cancer hospitals on the planet. And Paige is partly owned by Memorial, and it was spun out to take AI technology that had been developed within the hospital and really bring that the next step to commercialization, productization, so that it can have impact in helping diagnose and treat patients with cancer. As part of that spin-out agreement, we were given exclusive license to all of their digitized pathology slides, which is an enormous repository, and are helping them digitize their archives as well, which we're doing at a rate of about 100,000 new slides per month. And with all of that incredible data resource, we've built the first clinical grade AI in pathology, which has received FDA breakthrough designation, the first FDA breakthrough designation for any AI, not only in pathology, but all of oncology. And this technology was then launched, or I shouldn't say launched, then received a CE mark for use in Europe, both for our viewer and for our first AI module in pathology, which is focused on prostate cancer.
Incredible. So this is clearly a game-changing application for health tech and healthcare in general that can have massive implications for good. So that's great to see. Switching focus slightly, Leo, into your experience in the various roles that you've held along the way, and from what guidance or insight you can provide for people who are first stepping into industry from academia. You've obviously ran successful teams, and you're now CEO of an amazing, innovative company. What guidance or tips can you offer to talented PhDs who are looking to get into the field of data science, how they can transition from academia into industry?
It's not easy. They're very different worlds, and in academia, you can be very successful by being smart and by knowing your topic very well and doing innovative research that produces publications that become highly cited, and then to be able to leverage that in order to write grants and pull in funding through that mechanism. In an industry environment, the fact is that in order to do anything truly great, you need to work together with senior colleagues that have skill sets that are non-technical, that can be marketing driven, that can be legal, that can be sales even. And you need to be able to not only interact with those different types of people, but really have respect for the challenges and the creativity that is required to do all of those other roles successfully. So in a tech company that at its core, the technology really matters and is absolutely essential in order to make the company successful, but it's not enough. You also need all of the other apparatus around it to be able to productize that, to support it, to distribute it and deploy it, to maintain it, to add new features, to have good engineering culture, to develop quickly, to market it effectively, to brand it effectively, to price it effectively. And those are skills that you don't learn in academia. And so it's no longer about being the smartest person on the block and being able to eloquently write papers and solve problems. You really need to be part of an integrated whole where you're leveraging that skill set in the context of a greater team.
Absolutely. I think those are some really important points that people can really focus on. And those are skills like anything else, so people can work on them. One of the things you touched on briefly there, and I'd like to delve a little bit deeper into, is the importance of communication with the various different stakeholders in industry, because academia is very much, research and individual, and can be quite a lonely road where collaboration is what drives industry forward. So what advice could you offer to people who are new to the industry side of things, and how can they work on the communication skills side of the role that they may not have had as much exposure to in academia?
Practice. You really need to immerse yourself with other people and talk to people both at your own job, but also go to conferences, learn to give talks, and be able to communicate with different types of people and really learn about them and have that curiosity to, have a beer with the salespeople and say, what is your job like? What are you doing? How do you approach that? Why did you do that? Why didn't you do that? And it's only through those kinds of opportunities are you really going to learn what all the other components of the company are and be able to build those communication skills. Don't get me wrong, there are engineers and scientists who sit at their desks all day and code and talk to a couple of their team members, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, if you really want to do a job like I'm doing as CEO of a company, you need to be able to talk to everybody and really appreciate and understand where they're coming from and what kind of challenges they face.
You're absolutely right. I think if there was one underlying message I've received from every interview we've done with senior leaders is that point that you've just made, the importance of working on the communication side as a skill to facilitate further advancement, because there will always be supremely intelligent people who can code and work on algorithms, but what helps people move along and have a bigger impact is their ability to work with the different stakeholders. So thank you for that. Focusing on the teams that you've built over your career and even up to now with your newest role, in your mind, what does the ideal data science team look like, and how do you go about building it?
The ideal data science team is small and cross-functional. A lot of modern product development is based around Agile, and where Agile comes from is actually an examination of sports teams. And the idea being that if you look at really successful teams on a sports field, you don't have all, first basemen out there, or all shortstops. You have some people that are good at pitching, some at catching, some at outfielders, good batters, and all together they are able to successfully win a game. And if you translate that into business, a good data science team, or really good any kind of team, has different individuals with different skill sets in that team that all have a role and all bring some unique skills and perspectives to being able to make that team successful. So I think that's a key element, is to have that cross-functionality. I think it's also important to really ask teams to go the whole way with whatever project they're working on. And by that, I mean, it's not like you do research and you throw it over the fence to an engineering team, they throw it over the fence to a test team, then they throw it over the fence to a deployment team, and then they give it to support, and so on and so on. You really need to be able to do all of that within a small cross-functional team, because otherwise what gets thrown over the fence is ultimately and usually going to be the wrong thing. So I think these are key elements to having a successful data science team. Is it can't just be data scientists, it has to be engineers, QA, product, all together to help ensure that whatever component they're building is really going to be the right component for the customer, whether it's internal or external, and that it's going to be supported and deployed and built and tested in the right way in order to be successful.
Excellent, excellent. Not just building a data science team, but how you manage it and how you run an effective team. The main things you've learned along the way as you've developed your leadership skills and now as a CEO, how are you most effective in running a data science team and subsequent engineering side, which runs alongside it?
The number one thing that you need is people. If you have amazing people, especially amazing and experienced people, you don't really have to do much more except bring them on board, give them the right context and the right mission and a few guideposts, and really let them run. If you have a less experienced team, then you need to be much more hands-on with them and really help guide them to what good practices look like, how to manage situations in an effective way, what tools to use, what done should look like, even defining done criteria. All of these things require a lot more hand-holding when the team isn't experienced. So what I need to do, especially in my role today, is hire very capable people who have that experience and have that knowledge, give them the context, put a few guardrails in place, and really stand back and let them run.
I think it's such interesting insight, given the first thing you lead with is people over balance of technical skill set and background. And I think it's important to understand for everyone listening that it's still and always will be the most valuable asset to an organization. It's the people and how you manage it. So I think hearing your approaches is really insightful and very refreshing. Finishing on then, just your outlook for the future of your industry. What are the trends that you see? What are the topics that you're interested in? And most importantly, what are you most excited about for the future of data science, particularly within your industry?
Yeah, there's a lot of elements going on right now in terms of new technologies, new trends in AI itself. I think if I look at what I'm most excited about, specifically in the application of AI to healthcare, is I think it's really maturing in the sense that it's no longer something that is it's on the horizon or that it's futuristic. We have the FDA looking at how to regulate it. We have people doing clinical trials on this technology. A lot more experience and maturity within the field in terms of how do I design a study? How do I design a clinical trial? What is this technology really capable in a healthcare setting? How can it be applied to clinical medicine? Understanding those workflows, understanding regulatory and reimbursement and compliance and privacy and security issues at a much deeper and more mature level. I think overall the industry is getting to the point where we can apply this technology in clinical practice. And to me, that is the most exciting thing, because what that does is it opens the door to really being able to bend the curve in terms of impact of AI in clinical practice and really ultimately improve patient care and doctors' workflows.
So final question, Leo, what, if you and I speak in 2 or 3 years' time, what does Paige look like? Where will the business be? And, all things going well, how big an impact can we expect you guys to have on healthcare and our overall lives?
Our aim is to really be supporting pathologists all around the world to completely transform the discipline into one that is leveraging modern AI technology, computing technology, cloud technology in order to save time, improve quality standards, enable much easier collaboration, sharing across not only within a department, across departments, and ultimately to build new computational tests and new computational diagnostics that can really deliver additional insights into cancer patients or for doctors about cancer patients. That's really going to drive a much deeper understanding of disease and also really enable patients to get the right care that they need every time, and ultimately perhaps even help them develop new therapies and medications with this additional information, with this additional understanding. So I'm incredibly optimistic about the capability of the maturity of the technology and the impact that we can have on the pathology industry, but ultimately on the care of cancer patients.
Well, I think everyone will be watching with excitement to see what you guys can accomplish. Everyone will want you to be incredibly successful. So we wish you all the best of luck in your endeavors. Leo Grady, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks so much, JP.
Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week, we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.